Hello YouTube, this is Dazzathecameraman. Today is February 1st, 2019, New Zealand time, and I'm pleased to have with me Astronomy Live. Welcome along, Astronomy Live.
Oh, thanks. Thanks for having me on tonight.
And this is a very quick impromptu hangout to call out a YouTube channel called Flat Enough, who was in a chat on Anthony Riley or Sleeping Warrior's YouTube channel, calling out Astronomy Live and calling him a liar. I was asked by Flat Enough if I knew Astronomy Live personally, and I replied that I know Astronomy Live quite well, but I've never met him in person. And then Flat Enough started making allegations about Astronomy Live's videos of the Hubble telescope and his tracking of Hubble and other objects, and calling Astronomy Live a liar and a fake, and that his videos were fake. So I invited Flat Enough to actually front up in a hangout with Astronomy Live and I to discuss his claims, where Astronomy Live could answer his questions and address any objections that he might have. But it seems that Flat Enough is more of the keyboard warrior rather than wanting to front up to a live hangout. Now, as you can see, I've got a count up timer here. This was set to approximately the time I started talking with Flat Enough in the chat. And this count up timer will remain. There's a link in the description area under this video showing how many months, weeks, days, hours, minutes, and seconds we've been waiting for Flat Enough to front up and defend his claims that Astronomy Live is a liar. So we'll take a quick look. This is the Flat Enough YouTube channel, and again there's a link in the description area, so there's a bit of advertising for you there, Flat Enough, a bit of a shout out. And Astronomy Live and I are waiting for you to front up for a live hangout to discuss your claims that Astronomy Live is a liar. And with that, I'm going to hand over to Astronomy Live just to outline some of those allegations that Flat Enough made and a brief response.
Oh, thank you. So I wasn't there for the first part of that chat. Apparently he was taking umbrage with some of my videos of tracking the Hubble Space Telescope. And I did join the chat just before that hangout had ended, and he was still going on about the Hubble Space Telescope tracking that I've done, saying that I haven't tracked Hubble, calling me Astronomy lie, things like this. So I've tracked Hubble a number of times with my telescope. A few years ago, gosh, it'll be 4 years ago this year, I tracked Hubble at a very high, almost direct overhead pass, where I was able to actually resolve the shape, at least the optical tube, which is the long white section you see here, and compared this to the orientation the Hubble Space Telescope should have had based on the schedule. You can go look up the schedule for what Hubble is scheduled to observe at any given time. And so I fired up Orbiter Simulator, which has a very nice model of the Hubble Space Telescope, had it point at the same object in space that Hubble was supposed to be observing at that time, and then took a screenshot and compared this to my footage from my telescope set to the same location at the same observing time and with the Hubble Space Telescope pointing at that object. Sure enough, they're a match. The orientation, as you can see, is a match for what my telescope observed. More recently, I've developed my own software for tracking satellites, including Hubble, and this was actually one of the first things I tracked with my software. So I'll back it up here to the first part of the video so you can see this is what my tracking software does and what it looks like. It starts tracking based on the orbit of the satellite. That'll get you close enough that you can see the satellite in the viewfinder camera. This is a wide-angle viewfinder camera. You can see Hubble rising out of the trees and power lines there. I click on it, and that centers it up automatically and keeps it nice and centered in the view. So this allows me to use very high magnification without a whole lot of effort. I mean, it makes it pretty straightforward. Before, it was really tricky to be able to take high magnification pictures of Hubble and actually resolve the shape. But here, it's not so difficult. So I'm able to keep it in view the whole time now with the automated software I've developed. That's actually available.
Live. Would you like to put that in theater mode so we've got a wider view?
Yeah, sure. That's a good idea. So in this video, you can find this on my channel, and I believe I have it down here in the video description. No, I don't? Okay. Well, all right. This must have been before I released the software. I've now released the software. It's on GitHub. So if you go to my channel, you'll find videos talking about Sat Tracker, and this is the software I'm using here, and it's now up on GitHub. Anyone can download it. It's completely open source. So if this was part of some conspiracy, I don't even know how I would inject images, fake images into a telescope to make them magically appear. But even if I were to somehow be some sort of magic uber wizard programmer who could do that, you would be able to see that in the code, the source code. It's all up there on GitHub. There's no secrets. It really does work. So you can see as Hubble goes higher over the sky and gets closer to the telescope, you could start to see it. It turns from an unresolved point-like light source looking like a bright star into an elongated shape, because the distance between Hubble and the telescope is decreasing as it goes higher over into the sky. So as its elevation above the horizon increases, its range decreases. And now you can see the shape of Hubble in the telescope. Pretty cool. So he accused me of faking and lying about this, about not really tracking Hubble. He says, yeah, you created software, but that doesn't mean you actually tracked Hubble. No, I guess it wouldn't, except the fact that I've got a bunch of videos of Hubble. So I've got more videos. If he wants more videos, I've got more videos I didn't even upload on additional days where I was doing testing on Hubble. So I've got footage out the wazoo of the Hubble Space Telescope. Additionally, he called my footage of the vertically landing rockets CGI. He's referring to SpaceX. SpaceX, it has developed reusable rockets, primarily the Falcon 9 and the Falcon Heavy. So they can launch their rockets, they blast off, the second stage kicks off, or the center core stage in the case of Falcon Heavy kicks off with the payload and continues on into orbit. The booster, the first stage, comes back and lands at the Space Center. Sometimes it lands out in the ocean on a boat, but for Falcon Heavy, for the demonstration flight, we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary next week. That came back and landed back at the Space Center on 2 landing pads.
Let's go to theater mode.
Oh, yes. Good catch. Thank you. Yeah. So there you can see the entry burn. The 2 side boosters are coming back to land. They're turning on their engines to protect themselves from the atmosphere so that they don't burn up and they aren't damaged when they come into the atmosphere. And it helps slow them down. Now they're going to basically glide in for a landing and turn their engines on at the last possible second for a suicide burn to be able to stop at 0 velocity at 0 altitude. It's a really tricky maneuver. So I tracked it with my telescope, again using software I wrote myself. This is being developed into a separate module I'm calling UFO Tracker, because it can track just about anything you see in the sky. So if you see something in the sky, you want to track it up close, that's what this software is for, even if you don't know the trajectory ahead of time. So tracking the booster coming down, he called this CGI. Now this is not CGI, this is raw, unedited footage from my Canon camera. I haven't done anything. I literally just uploaded this footage straight from the camera. The only thing I put in front of it was a title card. The rest of it, I left it alone. So this is unedited footage of that first Falcon Heavy launch. And it is, if you watch it, it's actually complete footage from launch to landing. No cuts, no breaks. I never lost sight of it. It was there the whole time. And so here we go.
It's pretty amazing footage too, I must say.
Thank you. I was really happy, proud of this. This was something Red's Rhetoric and I were calling the money shot. We all wanted was uninterrupted footage from start to finish of this whole process. And the conditions were just right that morning to be able to get that. So there it goes. It lands at LZ1. Of course, no one can actually be at the landing pad. It's really dangerous. So the closest you could be, this is actually one of the closest spots you can be to the landing. But it does let you see these boosters, you know, above the tree line, even after touchdown. You can see where they're sitting there. They've made it back successfully. So he called this footage CGI. It's not, but I would love to hear his proof for this. So we're waiting now for him to man up and show up in a hangout. I'll be happy to debate him on this anytime, any place. And he can provide his proof that I am lying and faking all of this.
Right. And so on that, again, there's the invitation to Flat Enough channel on YouTube to front up and meet with Astronomy Live and I for a live hangout. And once again, here is the count-up timer. This is the time, months, weeks, days, hours, minutes, and seconds that we've been waiting for Flat Enough to front up. He was quite happy to call out Astronomy Live and call him a liar in the chat under the video that we were watching. But it seems that he's not so keen to actually front up for a hangout as he's been invited. But the invitation is there to you, Flat Enough. If you want to ask Astronomy Live some questions and accuse him of lying, let's do that in a live hangout, and I'm sure that Astronomy Live will be more than happy to answer your questions and any objections that you might have. Astronomy Live?
Well, just want to thank you again personally for notifying me of the call-outs that were being made. To be clear, he started calling me out when I was not even in the chat. I wasn't in this show that Anthony Riley was doing. I wasn't there at all, and yet he felt compelled to bring me up. So here I am. You know, I'm happy to go over the evidence anytime, because I didn't fake it. I've got nothing to hide here.
Right, so thank you, Astronomy Live, and thank you for joining me, and hopefully we will hear from Flat Enough very soon in a live hangout.